Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. And this is another long forecast because of just the way things are happening. So this is the weekly forecast part one for the week of July 27th through August 2nd, 2026. This forecast will focus on the long transits and the ending transits. These are the transits that began last week, the week of that ended on July 26th, and will be ending. They started it sometime on the week of July 26th, that ended July 26th, and will be ending during this week. So it's Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. It's freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. There's my contact information, standard YouTube copyright, and no, my content may not be used to train AI LLMs without appropriate compensation. Oops. Gosh. I'm trying. My OTPT wants me using my index finger more, and it's still messing up. Keys to the reading, part one. Constellation-based astrology is how I read the sky as opposed to tropical astrology. Constellation-based astrology is sometimes known as true sidereal. It's astrology by the visible sky or astrology by astronomy. Ancient astrologers were also astronomers, so they would read the sky, where the planets, where the constellations, read it, and done. Tropical astrology fixed the signs to seasons back around 200 AD and locked them there. The sky's changed since. It's how we get our astrological ages. So my readings have my planets in alignment with the current astrological age. And using the visible sky, there are 13 signs. Between Scorpio and Sagittarius, there is another sign. It's called a fucus. The symbol is of a man or a person holding a snake by the head and the tail. And in ancient times, the snake symbolized knowledge. When you got it by the head and the tail, you're controlling it or using it. And the various mythos behind this is the person was injured, the gods taught that person how to heal themselves, so they gained the knowledge, and they were supposed to use that to heal themselves and then heal others with similar wounds. And with the visible sky, I'm also using the natural size of the constellations. There are some who try to make every constellation the same size. They're not. In the visible sky, Virgo is just under 50 degrees. Aries barely hits 25. The constellations all are different sizes, and I leave them in their natural sizes. And finally, for this slide, I also use what are called astrological midpoints because the IAU boundaries are arbitrarily drawn. They can take stars from one constellation and push them over into another one. Affinchimenti noted this and did his correction. I think it's more accurate. Pull this up. Keys to the reading, part two. My interpretation uses what's called evolutionary astrology, which says the transits, the signs, the planets, the signs, etc., are lessons to learn. They're teachers. And within that, you have freedom of choice. You can decide how you're going to work with these opportunities, how you're going to work with these lessons. You can choose an ideal outcome, a high road, or you can choose the low road. I honor that and I respect your ability to choose. This is the weekly edition, so these are universal lessons. So do have some compassion on your fellow Earth travelers or ground pounders, whatever you want to call them. The dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, as I do live outside of Buffalo, New York. I'm operating within 1 degree of exact because more than that, weeks like this week and last week can get very, especially like last week, they can get very overwhelming. If I'm overwhelmed, you're lost. And operating within 1 degree of exact limits it to what is the strongest influences at that time. Software that I'm using is Capricorn by Prometheus. It's nice and simple. I like it. And all interpretations are my own. No AI used. I have run into a number of astrologers that are turning their interpretations over to AI. I refuse to. Your chart is an agreement between you and the universe. And when I'm reading a chart, it's like having a conversation. And there are things that come to me that AI is just never going to get, no matter what it does. My cats are being a little freaky today. So this week, this is the week of July 27th through August 2nd. The sun is in Cancer. The moon begins the week in Sagittarius, will end in Pisces. This is focusing on the transits from last week. So we're going to be looking at these long transits of Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Also Chiron with the nodes. And then we will be talking about, I believe, there are some solar transits and some transits with Venus that will be ending. Yes, there's some transits with the sun and Venus that will be ending. So we'll be focusing on long transits and transits that are entering from last week. Who's crying? My kittens. Come on over here. If you want to sit on my lap, it's open. Okay, so let me get my doodle tool out. And what this, as you can see, the only thing that's happening new this week, whoops, is this here, and the moon. Everything else is above this line. And this is a lot to cover, honestly. I feel like if I try to cover this all in one, you'd get lost. And I would carry on for a long time. Sad to say. But as you can see, there's a lot of long transits. We do have those 2 Uranian transits. We do have Chiron working with the nodes. We are finishing up Saturn moving station retrograde. That's that. And as you can see here, we do have these 3 solar transits and Venus in a square to Mars, which is going to be going on long this week. Actually started on Sunday. So there's a lot going on that's a carryover from last week and weeks prior. And that's what I'm going to focus on with this first reading. It differs from last week because last week we had transits from Jupiter, so I'm not just going to repost that. I do like having my readings being authentic for the week. So that's what we're going to focus on and show. Let's go here. Boom. Yes. Light rain showers tomorrow. Thank you. So first thing I'm going to cover are the long continuing transits, and then I'm going to go into the transits that are ending, and then I will talk about the moon. Oh, that's... Every time I look at these transit charts, I see something wild and interesting. It's like, oh, I want to cover that. I'll do it later. I just had a cat jump on my lap. This poor guy is really hot and stressed out. It's been a hard summer for him. Okay, so let's start with the oldest transit, which is going to be, I'm gonna move this up here. Neptune in Pisces. We have it right here. In sextile to Pluto in Capricorn. Neptune in Pisces. Now, both of these are retrograde. So this is internal work. This is also a time of reflection. So you start with the reflection. This is a time where you're working on the insides. You know, you're making your plans, you're figuring out what you're going to do, you're getting things set up so that when they do go direct, you're ready to roll and you're ready to work. So Neptune in Pisces. I like the way Stephen Forrest says this. Don't just do something. Sit there, be present. So the question here is, are you being present? Are you being aware of what? Your own spirituality. Are you being aware of this moment that you are in? And are you aware of like the higher spiritual influences and your connection to the divine? I will always talk about spirituality. I will never preach religion to you. Religion is the rules of man. Spirituality is about your own personal connection to the divine and what you believe. So are you practicing that? Are you aware of that? And are you aware of your own spiritual connections? The sextile is a sense of interest or an excitement. And again, Pluto and Capricorn, everybody's favorite planet, Pluto. Um, Pluto and Capricorn, Pluto's the planet of transformation, and in Capricorn, it's doing the work of transformation. Retrograde. Are you actually doing that work? What is it that you need to be doing internally so that you can have a successful experience? I think this is the second time Pluto, if I remember, the second time Pluto's been retrograde in Capricorn. It's got a long time to work through here. So here we have spirituality creating an interest in transformation. This is all internal work. So how is your connection to the divine helping you with the work of inner transformation and inner healing? Okay. Next, and I'm not going to erase a ton of things here, we have Uranus in a sextile to Neptune. So we're talking about this right here. So Uranus is the planet of individuality and authenticity. In Capricorn is just being natural with it, being I'd say self-aware, but being at peace and being at ease with who you are at heart. And how is that, again, sextile, creating that sense of interest in your spirituality? But remember, this is a time of spiritual reflection. So as you're being your natural self, how is this helping you connect to your higher self? And how are those two learning to work together and finding that interest in working together? And, oh, I forgot to cover the shadow. So I'm going to hit the shadow of both of them. The shadow of Uranus and Neptune. Neptune, first of all, gets lost. It's the terminal space case or denial of all things spiritual. This person is so heavenly minded, they're of no earthly good, or it's a complete denial of your spirituality and your spiritual connections. You know, we're all physical creations. When we die, we're done, blow off in the dust in the wind and be bye-bye. So Uranus, instead of you being your authentic self, you're either acting out to get a reaction from people or you're selling out trying to fit into other people's expectations. In Taurus can be lazy, just doing what comes, it's the easy way out. I'll deal with it. Taurus can also be, ask anybody who knows a Taurus who has a temper. It's the bull in the china shop. It is explosive. So it can be that person who, just doing something crazy just to provoke a reaction from people, and when they don't give it to them, they really explode, or they just do something really wild. So when you're not being your authentic self, how is that having a negative influence or providing a negative experience to your spirituality and disconnecting you from that? And again, that spirituality, when you're denying your spirituality or you're this total space case, the shadow of Pluto in Capricorn, instead of healing, you're wounding yourself. You become cynical, nihilistic, focused on on darkness, what all is wrong. And in Capricorn is the control freak, lonely, isolated. So as you're getting lost in this space, as you're getting just totally unfocused and completely lost in spirituality and totally disconnected from reality, how is that hurting you and leaving you lonely and isolated and trying to control what cannot be controlled? So I completely forgot about that. My bad. And one last transit here from our long transits is a trine. Let's see, I covered this, and now we're going to cover this. Is the Uranus trining Pluto. And like again, I said, Uranus, you're learning to be at peace with who you are and finding the strength that comes from being who you are. In a trine is a support. Little bit of energy goes a long way. If you want to talk easy success, trines are good places to find that. You still have to put the effort in. You still have to do the work, but it'll be smooth flowing. And again, when you're your natural self, how is this supporting you doing the work of transformation? How is this helping you to do that inner work of healing and releasing those wounds from you being not who you were? So there's that. Being authentic, yeah, can help. How can that help you begin the work of change? This is who I really am. I'm going to do the work of becoming that person. The shadow, when you lose your individuality to the expectations of others, you're selling out or you're acting out to get the reaction. That creates a big mess fast. And that fuels the loneliness, isolation, the cynicism, the pessimism of Pluto and Capricorn. And this can lead you into feeling lonely, empty, and isolated. And this is an internal sense of loneliness and isolation. And so you're feeling lost within yourself and I would say even disconnected from yourself. Okay, let's clear that out. And then we're going to look at Chiron and the nodes of the moon. Nodes of the moon are interesting because half of the day, like as you see right here, the south node is retrograde, the north node is direct. So that's half the day. And then if I did the chart later in the day, you would find the north node retrograde and the south node direct. So they're constantly back and forth. And where's my Chiron? Here we go. And there is Chiron. So we have a trine to the south node and a sextile to the north node. So we're going to cover what these are and then your interpretation. So Chiron in Pisces is healing spiritual wounds. My one cat is sitting like right in front of me. It's like right below the camera and he'll stick his head up and I don't want to hit my face into him. Apologies for that. So Chiron in Pisces is healing spiritual wounds. You're aware of them, you're healing them, and you're releasing them. Chiron can also, as you're healing yourself, help you to heal other people. And other people with similar wounds. Now, the sextile, it's sextiling the north node in Aquarius. The north node is your destiny and purpose in this life. So do know where it is in your birth chart, and then in Aquarius, you're making it authentic to yourself. What does that look like? So for me, my north node is in Pisces. So I write out what my interpretation of what a Pisces north node looks like. Now with the north node in Aquarius, how do I make that Piscean north node unique and authentic to me and my own spiritual experience? So that's my personal application of that. So as I'm healing these spiritual wounds, I'm able to make my spirituality more authentic to me and more unique to me and who I am at heart in a way. Now the south node in Leo. And again, your south node, knowing where it is in your birth chart helps you to understand this better. The south node in Leo, the shadow of Leo here, what the south node is doing is it's making you aware of how you hold yourself back in life. So in Leo, it's drama. It's that drama king or drama queen. Everybody either stand up and look at me, see me now and give me the applause I want, or is that also the other shadow, trying to hide away and not be seen? Both of them are two different sides of the drama king, drama queen coin. I'm not sure okay, Don rant for a moment. I get the different gender pronouns, and fine, I'm fine with it. I just never know what to, drama king, drama queen, drama they. I'm not sure how to work with all the different pronouns. But in its essence, south node in Leo is that pointless drama that holds yourself back. And again, I'm going to use myself as the example here. My south node is in Virgo. So with that Virgo south node, I've got to plan everything out, control things. Now, how am I making that overly dramatic? We can't do anything because we don't have a plan, things like that. So as I become aware of how I hold myself with drama, how is that helping to support my healing and releasing of wounds and spiritual wounds? And that's the other thing here, is the nodes of the moon travel faster than Chiron. This is an 18.6 year rotation or orbit, if I remember. Chiron circles the sun in about 50 years. So literally, the nodes, your path of destiny in a way, is triggering this healing. So as you're learning to become more authentic in your life's purpose and you're aware of how you're holding yourself back with pointless drama, this is helping you to heal and release spiritual wounds. Now the shadow. Chiron, instead of healing the wounds deeper, or it's a refusal to heal, or it's you wounding other people. And in Pisces, you're living in denial, you're living in a fantasy, just trying to escape and numb the pain of the injury as well. So the North Node in Aquarius, rather than you making your destiny authentic to you, you're giving that power away and you're letting other people define your destiny and purpose, or you're just acting out to get a reaction from people. Sextile is a sense of nervousness, and that fuels spiritual wounding. You're really hurting yourself on the spiritual level. The South Node is, instead of, with the healthy South Node, is you're aware of the drama. The unhealthy South Node is you're reliving that drama, and if not, making it worse. And that leads to, it's a slippery slope downhill fast that fuels deeper wounding. So there we go with that. And I'm going to clear that. Clear all and okay, I'm going to cover these in the order that they're going to end. These are the next part here are the transits that are ending. First is Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Saturn is moving retrograde. Saturn teaches you maturity and growth. And in Pisces, it's spiritual maturity and spiritual growth. So right now you're reflecting on the spiritual work you're doing and how is that helping you to grow, become more present, more self-aware. Examine your practices and how are you doing them? Are you doing them faithfully? And how are they helping you to grow and mature? Are they helping you to grow and mature? And if not, how can you change them? So this is you taking time to reflect on your spiritual growth and your spiritual maturity. The shadow here is Saturn gets to be the control freak. It's trying to own and control everything. And it slips into fear, slips into despair, descending into a sense of failure. And in Pisces, this is getting caught up in idle fantasies, falling into these fantastical fears that don't exist. The other side of this, when I see Saturn in Pisces, religious fundamentalism. You're preaching your own spiritual practices as the end-all, be-all, cure-all for everybody and their spiritual problems. So you're taking a look and you're diagnosing everybody's spiritual problems based on what you believe and how they should be, you're now a spiritual guru that should be telling people what to do and how to do it. Okay, let me clear this out. Now we're going to focus on these solar transits. We do have 3 of them. We do have, be very careful to draw this, the sun in Neptune in an opposition to Pluto in Capricorn. Not sun in Cancer. God, I apologize. Sun in Cancer, you're focusing on nurturing yourself and self-care, taking a rest, taking a break. How are you taking care of yourself? How are you meeting your soul's needs? Or how you're meeting your the sun, you're here to also help to learn how to develop a healthy ego. So how are you taking a break and how are you helping your core identity to rest so that you're doing well that way? And opposition is a time of reflection and balancing. So as you're learning to rest, take care of yourself. Reflect on how that is helping you do the work of inner transformation and inner healing. And what ways is that helping that? So do take that time to reflect. You're pausing, you're calming yourself down. And how is self-care helping you heal those deep soul wounds? Pluto can be that deep soul wound. So how is self-care helping you to heal these deep inner wounds and do the work of healing these deep inner wounds? Do take time to reflect on that. The shadow, this is the sun becomes the false ego in Cancer, very defensive. And it can be defensive in taking swipes at people, so the ego getting big, and you got those claws and swiping, injuring people. Or it can be trying to hide away and be indivisible. Either which way, you're wounding yourself and wounding other people. And this becomes a timeout, and this opposition is a time of imbalance. Pluto in Capricorn, we said, is focusing on cynicism, nihilism. Literally, you're wounding yourself more deeply and getting lost in darkness. So what do I have here? Yeah, living in the false ego and being defensive can lead you living in idle. I'm sorry, wrong one. I scrolled down too far. Yeah, getting stuck in defending the false. Be careful of getting stuck defending the false ego. Getting lost in darkness, isolation, and blinding yourself can lead you to feelings of emptiness and nihilism. So that's one thing here. That's part one. So we've got that. Next, we're going to cover Pluto, or the sun, in a trine to Neptune. And you still have that Pluto sextile here. So again, learning self-care. How is that supporting your ability to be present and spiritually aware? And remember, this is retrograde, so this is internal. Are you being internally spiritually aware of your spiritual self, your spiritual nature, and your connection to the divine? And also your connection to your higher self. The shadow here, the sun, that ego, that out of control ego that's being defensive, creates a big mess, leaving you cut. It can leave you cut off, living in these idle fantasies. That leaves you disconnected from your higher purpose. Leaving you lost in fantasies and self-delusion, or trying to escape the emptiness of living a meaningless life. You know, you're living in these fantasies and trying to numb the pain of living in the false ego. And then I'm going to cover this third one here, which is the sun sextiling Uranus. Oops, I'm going to erase this. Oops, come on. There we go. Thank you. So we have a trine here. And then the sextile to Uranus. And again, remember, Uranus in Taurus, finding the peace and strength that comes from you being your authentic self. And we have this sextile here. The sun in Cancer, again, nurturing, self-care. How does that create an interest in you learning to be your authentic self and being at peace with that authentic self? The shadow, the false ego, becoming defensive. And that fuels either your acting out or selling out, either out of laziness or acting out like a bull in a china shop just to get a reaction from people. So being defensive, caught up in the false ego, fuels nervousness and loss of individuality, either through the acting out or selling out. All right, let's clear all those. And then our last transit of the long transit, of the transits from last week, is Mars in a square, or Venus in a square to Mars. So this is a square, lousy square at that, but it's a square. Venus in Leo is you're standing up, standing out, making your and reaching out to people. Venus is about relationships and creativities, and in Leo wants to be seen and appreciated. So this is a time, literally, get up, go out, meet new people, or showcase your artistic talents. And when I talk about art, yeah, that is the physical arts like painting, sculpture, drawings, etc. It's also the musical arts. You know, if it's in the fine arts section of your library or the art section of your library, which I think is this, yeah, it's the 700s, it's covered here. So standing up and being seen, getting up, meeting new people, showcasing your artistic abilities. A square is a challenge whose purpose is to strengthen you. How is that giving you the courage to be at peace and find that strength? Where's my, I gotta find this one. So I have my additional notes. Here we go. Yeah, expressing yourself to others through friendship or art can challenge or strengthen your ability to find peace and strength. So Mars in Taurus is about having the courage to be calm and chill out and quiet and be out in nature. You can just see the top of the cat's head there. The shadow here, Venus can be slick and manipulative. It can also be kind of lazy. Just gonna do something. Next time it pokes his head up, you'll be able to see him, hopefully. There we go. Slick, manipulative, trying to control people, or in the sense of art, rather than you being creative yourself, you're just a copycat. No real stylistic development. You're just doing the draw, paint by color type stuff, for lack of a better example. Great. It's a great place to start, but you shouldn't be ending there. You're just copying what other people do. There's no originality. There's no authenticity, no originality in there, no creativity, and trying to pass it off as your own. And people see it and they call you out. And a square here is a crushing burden, and that fuels fear. Shadow of Mars is fear, and that can be acting out in anger and backlashing at people. And Mars, Taurus, an angry bull, yeah. Or it can just fall into that other fear, which is laziness. You know what? I'm afraid that people are going to see what I'm doing, so I'm not going to showcase anything at all, even though you may have some original work that people look at and say, wow, that's really great, and that's you. So yeah, being slick, manipulative, and that childishly egocentric way, stumbling can have you stumbling or creating a burden that creates fears and leaves you stuck in these bully victim dramas. Yeah. And that cat has this, I wish I could show this to you because it's really cute. He has this empty cat food box that I have on its side that opened. He crawls into it and that's where he sleeps. I'm sorry. Not only do you get astrology with me, I tell you stories about my cats. And finally, we're going to end up with the moon here. We end with the moon in Sagittarius. The moon in Sagittarius is opening yourself. The moon is your soul. It's your emotional self. And in Sagittarius, it wants to get up, go out, do something. Find new, fresh ideas and find new interests, new experiences. The moon in Sagittarius wants to get up, go out in the world and do something. And you've got the emotional strength, you've got the emotional ability to do that. Wants to get up, go out and have fun. The shadow here is defending the status quo and getting stuck in this boring rut that leaves you feeling tired. And that's where I'm going to end this reading because I don't want this. I know there are people who, and I did get a few email messages on this, and I do appreciate that, who don't want to hear all just the last, having to figure out what's new and what's new and what's the hangover from last week. And I know that reading was long, so I'm going to break this up into 2 readings. So that's part 1, the long transits, the transits that are ending, and our where the moon is beginning. The second reading, I will have what the moon is doing. I will include that. So do follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. You're watching this on YouTube. These three are making billions of dollars off your data. There's another alternative, Digital Soul Space, now free. I'm thinking of it like PBS, where the moderator is going to sit down and say, hey, guys, make a donation. If you like what we got here, make a donation. I call it the spiritual safe space on the internet. 4 great moderators that keep the trolls off and out. I can't remember the last time they kicked somebody off because of inappropriate posting. We have 4 great moderators. I do astrology, there's tarot, oracle cards, a wide variety of spirituality and spiritual practices, mediumship, crystals, herbal healing, herbalism. It's just incredible. If you want to know something, you ask a question, someone will come up with an answer. All sorts of great opportunities. It's now free. Hold on a second. And it's like I say, it's a great place to go and hang out. You want to turn around? Oh yeah. He has been sweating so hard, his hair has been falling out. You got to get him to the vet and get that checked out. I think he's having a reaction to the dye in the cat food. I do readings, aside from taking care of my cats. I do readings. If you want to see how your chart changes from tropical to true sky sidereal, or get a different reading on it using evolutionary astrology, you can start with the quick 6 key points that provide a solid foundation for you to be able to work with your chart. If you want to know your full birth contract in evolutionary astrology, your birth chart is your birth contract. It's who you came here to become. It's not who you are. It's your end all goal. So if you're not liking the way your life is going, you can always change. I help you understand the birth contract and the lessons you came here to learn. And there's also a karmic past life reading that I do. This is based on the nodes of the moon. So if you have this situation that keeps repeating in your life, you want to try to understand it, very likely it's the node, it's your nodal, it's the south node and the north node. Teaching you a lesson. If you're a person who believes in past lives, this is a past life that is showing up again in this world, so you can heal the wounds, heal the karma. If you're a one and done, it's a special lesson that you came here to learn. I also do horoscopes, 1 year, any 12 months, any 3 months in a row, or any 1 month. And that can be first of the month to last of the month, new moon to new moon, or any 30-ish days in a row. I do some packages, and I'm available for summer hours now. Hopefully I have it set up right on Acuity, where I'm available Tuesday through Friday, basically between 1 o'clock, and I think it's 1 and 5 o'clock. If you need me outside those hours, email me. I'm flexible. We can set that up. Thank you. Like, follow, share, sign up for the newsletter. It pops up on the website. All I need is an email address. Once a week newsletter with a lot of good information in it and some things that I don't cover here. And it's the only place I give discounts. So like, follow, share, and remember, in the visible sky, your life changes. Thank you very much for watching this first part of the reading. And very shortly, we will have the second part.